basketball.
A spectacular move by Michael Jordan.
Lace them up. It's time for 1010XL's Open Gym. Leading the break, here's RJ Saunders.
And it is the basketball show for the basketball fan on a Sunday, day after the Florida Gators comeback victory in the Elite Eight. Now they're headed to the Final Four. The LA Lakers decide that they're not going to lose a third quarter lead and lose in the fourth. It is a little show we like to call Open Gym. RJ Saunders here with you. Dylan Denmark also in studio with us. Your way on to the show, as always, is going to be on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosure, 641-1010, or you can chat with us on our digital studios, whether that be on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. And as always, we do thank you for being along for the ride with us here on your Sunday morning. The question of the day, I was watching Gil's Arena, and Brandon Jennings, as well as Zach Randolph and Tony Allen, they were making their all-time city teams. Brandon Jennings being from L.A., Zach Randolph hailing from Indiana, Tony Allen hailing from Chicago. With us being here in Jacksonville, I wanted to know, can anybody make an all-time starting five with players from Jacksonville? I would like to think that that list would include Artis Gilmore, D. Brown, Truck Robinson, who was a two-time All-Star during his time in the league, Patrick Young. Now, although he didn't play in the NBA, he did have a great career with the Florida Gators, also had a strong career overseas. Grayson Allen still doing a lot of great things now with the Phoenix Suns. He got paid not too long ago with the Phoenix Suns, becoming one of their sharpshooters. So who would be Jacksonville's all-time starting five? Let us know, 641-1010. Now, there were a lot of first topics I wanted to go with, but I understand what dominated the media cycle, and I do believe this is the last day anybody's going to talk about it. So want to get everybody's opinion here in Jacksonville while I also give you mine. And it concerns the Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James back and forth. And if you remember, we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about the NBA's branding and imaging issue, or do they have one, when it comes to promoting the stars of tomorrow as well as the game of today, and whether or not the branding or the lack thereof is enticing the fan that they are trying to pull in, which is not the diehard NBA fan like myself or like some of you who are listening. They're trying to pull in the individual who normally watches during Christmas, may watch All-Star, may start watching during the playoffs. A guy that first comes to mind for me is a guy like Leon Searcy. That's who they're trying to pull in. They may be even trying to pull in a guy like Dylan Denmark. And there was, talks of early on in the season, there were ratings that were going in the tank, and Adam Silver tried to make a lot of reasons as to why. College football, the NFL, the NBA, the Super Bowl was coming up. You had the World Series. And it's not because the product is just that bad. It's just that there were so many other sports and so many other things that were impeding the progress of the NBA, even a la this past election that we had. That was Adam Silver's words, not mine. Now, here's the question that I do want to ask. Is the LeBron James, Stephen A. Smith back and forth something that can bring the eyes to the television for the NBA? Now, my answer is no. I think this is quite hilarious. If you do want to ask my opinion just quickly, I do think it's silly, but does it help the NBA game at all? I don't know if I've seen reporters and athletes go at it like this, at least publicly. If we remember, you had Deion Sanders. He wasn't a fan of a particular reporter during his time with the Braves. And you remember what the reporter said, "You're a real man, Deion. You're a real man," after Deion poured the water on him. Tim McCarver. Thank you. A report was written, I guess, while Michael Jordan spent that year trying to play baseball with the Chicago Cubs affiliate. And they wrote a piece saying, "Bag it, Michael." And they didn't think that Michael should be trying to play baseball. And I think the report was that Michael won't even talk to Sports Illustrated anymore. But I don't think a reporter and athlete type beef in the public sphere has ever been of this magnitude, where now I'm questioning whether or not this is good for the NBA game. But don't take my word for it. He's not going to answer it all the way, but we're going to hear him. This is the commissioner, Adam Silver, on the matter of LeBron James, Stephen A. Smith, and their back and forth.
I'll begin by saying I just ended board meetings that began at 8 a.m. this morning. I will say my phone was in front of me, and I received several texts that said, "Are you watching this?" And I said, "What's this?" And they said, "Stephen A." So I understand. I saw some of the headlines that came out of it. It's fascinating. Joe Dumars actually was talking about the state of the game at our board meeting. Actually, Mike Krzyzewski also, who's become an advisor to the league, spoke about the state of the game as well. But Joe was saying to the team representatives in the room, many of whom have not been involved in the game as long as he has, that we're a particular sport in which that kind of debate seems to be part of the DNA of this league. And I'm jealous sometimes. It seems that in other sports that I'm a fan of, and when I watch the coverage, particularly around the games, it seems to be more celebratory often than it is in the NBA. And I accept it. I mean, we're often the beneficiary too. I mean, there's seemingly as much social media interest in this league at times than all the other leagues combined. So it's a two-edged sword. I mean, sometimes it's measured in column inches, and it's wonderful to see so much interest in our sport. At the other time, I cringe at a lot of the coverage. I would just say, in terms of that back and forth, again, I haven't had an opportunity to watch or read precisely what went on today, but of course would like the focus to be on the play on the floor. And I particularly feel protective of our players, of course, but I recognize that there's a cottage industry out there of media that we are often the beneficiary of, that talk about our sport around the clock. But I sure wish it would never become personal.
Let me try to break down and translate the wise Yoda answer that Adam Silver is trying to give. I don't like it. This is not good for the game. Now, I do believe what he did say is true. There's a 24-hour news cycle with the NBA now. With the advent of social media, ESPN is on when we wake up. We can go to sleep, wake back up. ESPN is still on. And they're talking about the Lakers, LeBron James, Steph Curry. Someone put out a tweet not too long ago and said there's at least 7 other things that the NBA could be talking about aside from this LeBron James and Stephen A. beef. I don't think that this brings the kind of drama that the NBA would like to have, that Adam Silver would like to have. Remember when I talked about the branding? Remember TNT used to have the tagline of the NBA, "We know drama"? If this was Anthony Edwards versus Luka Doncic on the basketball court, that's the drama they like to have. They're able to promote that for the next season. It's Luka versus Anthony Edwards, the promised son and the maybe Michael Jordan's child somewhere, versus Luka Doncic, probably the best or second best international player that we've seen in quite some time. We can promote that. As you can see, they're still promoting Kevin Durant versus Steph Curry, or Steph Curry versus LeBron James. They do a mixture of the three, saying these are 3 surefire Hall of Famers, and this may be one of the last times in which we see them. What can Stephen A. and LeBron James do for us as a product beefing like this? Is it if LeBron James wins the title, Stephen A has to apologize on national TV? Is there going to be a boxing match between the two? I mean, that's how we settle our differences now. We go on Netflix and have boxing matches, right? Let that be a part of Guns and Hoses this year. RJ Saunders, Dylan Denmark on the call. But LeBron James in this instance, Charles Barkley says it, he always knows what he's doing. This is the NBA on TNT analyst discussing the online debate between the two stars in their respective fields.
I've always liked LeBron, but him being a bully, it turned me off, Dan. But I will say this, Stephen A., the way he reacted was so lame and weak. And Stephen A. is a good dude, man. For him to react, LeBron, like I say, I blame him for starting the bullying, going on Pat's show just bullying people. Because, LeBron, he's a control freak. He knows everything he's doing.
Yeah.
He knows everything he's doing. He knew when he walked up to Stephen A. what he was doing. But the way Stephen A. reacted, going on Gilbert's podcast, talking tough, and I said, come on, man, you're better than that. So there's only losers, Dan, in this scenario, us as the sports media. You got the biggest star in the game. You probably got the biggest star on television, and they both look bad, in my opinion.
Crediting the Dan Patrick Show, Charles Barkley always doing one of his weekly hits with Dan Patrick. I will say one thing, though, about this beef here. LeBron James saying that Stephen A's on a Swiftie tour. He's in his tighty-whities eating ice cream, enjoying every minute of this. Although funny, I do believe that Stephen A does enjoy the fact that he is being spoken about like this. This is also able to get people to turn their eyes to his platform to see what he has to say in response. Stephen A, to my memory, really hasn't had a beef as public as this. That Terrell Owens thing that he had where they were going back and forth on Twitter, and then Stephen A made, I think, a 16-minute video on Terrell Owens, went next to nowhere. Kevin Durant trying to silence a report that Stephen A had. I believe this was 2012, 2013. The only thing I remember from that is Stephen A saying, "You don't want to make an enemy out of me." Like he was a part of the mob. Stephen A's back and forth with Stephon Marbury when Marbury was on the Knicks. You're a point guard. I believe Stephen A feels like he's on par with a lot of these athletes. And that's where I feel like the bigger conversation needs to be had. In my opinion, these so-called experts of the game, I think they've now thought of themselves as athletes. They want the shoes, they want the cars, they want the commercials. Now, hey, on the other side of it all, athletes are trying to break into the media business. And a lot of that, I do think you have to credit Barkley for. Barkley's had this whole second half of life where he's been successful in being an analyst. And I think guys see that success and they want to emulate that. How many players now do we see having their own podcast? They're now veering away from broadcast television, but I do believe the blueprint comes from Barkley. Be successful in your career path. I'm not trying to shoot it down if that's what you elect to get into, but what is the overall cost of it? This story decided now to shove everything that's good about the NBA right under the bed, in my opinion. The Detroit Pistons have turned around that franchise in a year after firing Monty Williams and hiring J.B. Bickerstaff. You look at the L.A. Clippers, the little brothers of the Lakers, but this team kind of looks like they're starting to contend. The Houston Rockets, a team I thought was going to make the playoffs via the play-in. They are now the second seed in the Western Conference, but we're not talking about that. And I do believe that that irks Adam Silver just a little bit. I don't believe what he says in terms of, I wasn't able to watch the whole thing. Adam Silver knows everything that's going on. I understand he's busy, but come on. This has given us a lot of funny moments. Stephen A saying that he's going to swing on LeBron James, had LeBron put his hands on him. Yeah, and I'm just bloated. Okay. Calm down, Stephen A. But the game is certainly talked about more than ever these days, but not spoken in the way that the NBA wants it spoken about, especially with your biggest star, and you would like to think the NBA's biggest media head, or at least television's biggest sports media head. And you're going back and forth like this doesn't add to people wanting to watch the NBA. Have there been a problem already with the ratings? But I could be wrong about all this. Give me your opinion. 641-1010. Does this help the NBA in terms of ratings? Or is it a much to do about nothing? Or even you, a diehard basketball fan, are you kind of rolling your eyes at the whole thing and saying, this makes me not even want to watch the NBA? Or that's the problem with today's NBA. But when we come back, I want to find out, is Paolo Banchero a superstar in today's NBA, or does he have just a little bit of a ways to go? We'll discuss that with Jake Chapman next, right here on Open Gym.
And now, the starting lineup.
The Drill Mornings. Jaguars today, 10 to noon. Helmets and heels. Noon to 2. XL Primetime. 2 to 4. The Frangie Show. 4 to 6. Into the night with Rick Ballou and Hacker After Dark. Evenings on 1010 XL.
Bueller, stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey man, what's that noise?
Do you hear it too? You can hear it, right?
Yeah, it's your air conditioner. It's like a grinding or a rattling.
And it's getting on your nerves, right? Like it's eating at your brain and you can't think straight, but it just keeps grinding and squeaking and taunting and nagging. You're not good enough. You're a failure. Why can't you be more like your sister, the lawyer?
Yeah, I don't hear that last part so much.
Yeah, but it's not cool, right, Jason?
It could definitely be cooler. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we can totally repair whatever that noise is and get your AC working smoothly and silently. We fix these things all the time.
So I won't be a failure?
Life should be enjoyed. If some irritating, broken air conditioner is making you crazy, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Easy Cater. It's all the food for your workplace, all in one place. With over 100,000 restaurants nationwide on one platform. Whether you need food for company meetings or events, daily employee lunches, or your next lunch and learn, Easy Cater makes food for work work. And it doesn't stop at lunch. With Easy Cater, you've got great breakfast options, snacks, treats, and more. Whenever and wherever work happens, Easy Cater's here to make the food happen. Order now at easycater.com.
All aboard! The Combine, Free Agency, the Draft.
Here we go.
Ride the off-season like a locomotive with AA Automotive and 1010XL.
Might want to buckle up, baby.
AA Automotive on Richard Street. Family run since 1954.
Mia here, and let me tell you about one of our area's best resorts, the Sawgrass Marriott Golf Resort and Spa. The Sawgrass Marriott is not only a great destination for a vacation, but it is also a great destination for dining on the Florida's first coast. 1912 Ocean Bar and Rooftop is now open on Ponte Vedra Boulevard, featuring Ponte Vedra's only oceanfront rooftop bar and lounge. Serving finely crafted cocktails and delectable eats, it's open daily from 4 to 10 with complimentary valet parking.
Hi, I'm Karen, owner of Clay Solar Installation Partners, your local women-owned solar company. At Clay Solar, we're more than just panels and power. We're about people. We make the switch to clean energy simple, stress-free, and built to last. If you've had a bad experience with solar in the past, we can help. We specialize in dependable solutions and top-notch customer service, so you can finally enjoy the savings and sustainability you deserve. Schedule your free consultation at claysolar.com.
It's March Madness, and your office needs a champion. Advanced Business Solutions teams up with Xerox to bring you copiers that never miss a shot. Fast, reliable, and ready to handle the pressure. Make the winning play for your business. Hire the champions at Advanced Business Solutions, where your business goes for the win. Locally and veteran-owned.
Print documents and IT management. Advanced Business Solutions.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Our next guest is one of the brain trusts behind this show, as well as Dante Marchitelli. If not for these two, there probably wouldn't be a show. Now, he is also one of the best around when it comes to his commentary for your Orlando Magic and the NBA at large. He's Jake Chapman. He is the radio play-by-play voice for your Magic. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Jake Chapman OM. Jake, how are you?
What's up, RJ? I'm good. How are you?
Good. And thank you once again for just taking a couple moments of your time to be with us to talk about the Magic. And it was a big win for them last night against the Sacramento Kings and what was the return of Markelle Fultz. What did you like from the group in securing another much-needed victory?
Oh, man, almost everything last night. I'll take Jamal Mosley's reply post-game. I just like the response because, to be honest, RJ, the loss against Dallas on Thursday was, I think, the most disappointing of the season. Be at this point of the year and know that every game, single-digit games remaining, typically you get a completely locked-in group night in and night out, especially with this Magic team going back to last year. They finished so well down the stretch. And that Dallas game was really disappointing. The ball movement was disappointing. The turnovers, 17 of them for 22 points, disappointing, and you made 5 threes. And this Magic team, they can win without shooting the ball well, but I don't know if anybody can win shooting 16% on 33-point attempts.
Right.
So last night I knew they were going to be locked in. I knew it was going to be a good start, but I wasn't sure because Sacramento obviously has a whole bunch of firepower, and it's a bad matchup for the Kings. I'll say that. I said it on the air last night, but Magic came out last night. We're up 17 after 12 minutes of play, and Sacramento never held a lead. The ball movement was good, really good balance. And then I really loved Wendell Carter Jr. got in foul trouble early, and Goga Bitadze came in and absolutely made a huge difference in that game. He looks like December Goga. He had 12 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. The ball was really popping with the second unit last night. So a lot to like, but overall, the best thing was just that they realized that Thursday night against Dallas was unacceptable, and they came out last night, left no doubt, and got a much-needed win.
There was a debate not too long ago on Gil's Arena with Gilbert Arenas, and he was debating about what makes a superstar or who are the superstars in today's NBA. And my takeaway from it when they were speaking was that if you're not a fan of Team A, but you see that team coming into your city, you're buying a ticket because you're like, man, I got to watch Anthony Edwards play, or I got to see Cade Cunningham play. I really do believe that Paolo Banchero has broken that mold to where he's in the superstar category. Do you believe that he's reached that superstar status yet? And if not, what does he have to do?
It's a really good question. I think, the idea of the NBA superstar is ever changing. Now with social media, there's so many different ways. It's not just, are you doing a Wheaties or Gatorade commercial anymore? Right? Everybody is exposed more than they've ever been before in a good way. And so I think he's close. I think, look, we're a small market down here. We get it. And typically, what makes an NBA superstar is a deep run into the playoffs and those national audiences. We're still working on that. I think this season for Paolo and post All-Star break, he's playing MVP caliber basketball. So if you're locked in, then you know that he's playing better than anybody in the league not named Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But I understand, we're talking about a 20-game sample size, and there was an injury before, and the Magic have not exceeded expectations this year because of all those injuries. Right. So I think he's right on the brink. I think I disagree with a whole bunch that Gilbert says on that show, but I think he's dead on. We're getting there. I think the highlight dunk, people consume our sport differently, as I said now. And so every night that Paolo goes for 30-plus and he's on the NBA, scroll at the end of the night where they're highlighting everything that happened in the league, every time he yams on somebody and it's a top 10 Sports Center play, he's sort of inching up that ladder. But the other part, RJ, is this league is in such a great place. It seems like every team's got a guy. I mean, you said Kate Cunningham and Anthony Edwards. That's Detroit and Minnesota, right? Like, it's not exactly the Lakers and the Celtics. So Paolo's he's got some competition in that regard, but he's certainly getting there.
He is the Orlando Magic radio play-by-play voice, Jake Chapman. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Jake Chapman OM, joining us here on Open Gym. We always talk about how well Paolo Banchero plays, and he's been certainly playing phenomenally in the second half of the year, but his running mate, Franz Wagner, has been equally as special, in my opinion. In your mindset and your thought process, what makes Franz Wagner just a special player to watch night after night?
Oh, I mean, he's so consistent. The jumper can come and go, but he's going to get his numbers because you can't stop the guy from getting into the paint. As of 2 games ago, I think he's 8th in the league in paint points. He gets like 12, 13 paint points a night. And he does it sort of, in an unorthodox way. I call it Franz Boogieing because, he can just sort of angle his way in there, and he's so good at finishing. His decel when he gets into the paint is incredible. And right now, I think you have to give Franz credit for allowing Paolo to be Paolo and Franz kind of filling in the gap.
Right. It's
not like a Batman-Robin type thing. It's more like a 1A, 1B.
Yes.
Because as we saw earlier in the season, Franz will get you 38 and 8. He can be a primary scorer, but he's such a smart basketball player. All he wants is what's right for the team. And then he's always doing other things well. Like, people don't talk about Franz Wagner's defense. It's awesome. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Josh Cohen for OrlandoMagic.com did a workup on that a week or two ago. So what I love about Franz is, and what I love about both of those guys is they play. Like, they had the oblique injuries this year. But it's got to be a serious injury to keep those guys off the floor. They're not the young stars going, my ankle hurts, I'm going to take 2 or 3 games off. They play through pain every night. And Franz, I think, they're both absolute dogs. They're both competitors. And Franz is night in and night out. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get a solid attacking the basket wing who gives you good defense as well. And then when the free ball is falling for either of those guys, it's look out. There's just no way to answer because you're so good from 20 feet in.
Now, I said last week that, I think Orlando's going to treat every game as a Game 7 because I do believe that they do want to finish the season on a high note before getting into the playoffs and playing either that of the Cleveland Cavaliers or the Boston Celtics should they stay in the 1 and 2 spot come playoff time. For you, how important is it for the Orlando Magic to finish this season off strong?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's huge, and as I mentioned, it hadn't really gone the way that you expected. I don't think if you told anybody at the beginning of the year that coming down the stretch with 7 games remaining, you were fighting for the top seed in the play-in tournament, that was the level of expectation. I mean, literally during training camp, everybody said we want a top 4 seed, we want home court in the first round. The injuries obviously have sort of thrown that sideways. Coming down the stretch here, you're fighting with Atlanta for that 7th seed. If you are going to be in the play-in tournament, the most likely, you want the 1 win and advance. You want to try to have a shot at that 7th seed. And ideally, you play that game at the Kia Center. The Magic typically have been a much better team at home than away. And so, it's obviously any coach, any team is going to tell you we want to finish the regular season strong regardless, or at least most of them will. The ones who are trying to capture the flag might not necessarily say that, but look, for the way this season has gone, and it's been crazy. To be in this position right now and to have an opportunity even to catch the Bucks and grab the 6th seed if at all possible. At this point, you got all your goals in front of you still. You just got to come out strong and finish the season on a high note, as you said. And you've got some games here, 2 of them against Atlanta, for instance, and coming down the stretch where you might be able to make a little jump. Goka said that last night. He said, we want to win all these games, and who knows, maybe we can catch the 6th seed. So 7 games left, 5 games to close that gap on Milwaukee. It's a long shot, but you're still at a point where everything is in front of you, and I think that's obviously a good thing.
We'll start tomorrow night against the Los Angeles Clippers as the Magic look for another win before closing out the regular season. Jake Chapman, Orlando Magic Radio play-by-play voice, joining us here on Open Gym. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Jake Chapman OM. So when we talk about the Orlando Magic, this is a team, for me, I at least believe is not going to be a easy team to face when it comes to the first round playoff matchup, whether they get the 6th seed and you're playing the 3 seed, or you even play that of Cleveland, which they played really well last year, just lost a lead in the second half before being eliminated in the playoffs by Cleveland. And then you could face a team in the Boston Celtics who you beat earlier this year, and I feel like they match up rather well with the Boston Celtics as well. Do you believe that this team, just if they are able to stay together and they finish the season on the high note, they're going to give one of these top teams a run for their money and make it a series?
Yeah, I think, look, RJ, if you just look at the rest of the Eastern Conference play-in scenario, right, you got Chicago and Miami, and it's obviously a Miami team that's playing well right now, but it's, a shell of what they were at the beginning of the year with the Jimmy Butler trade, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And then both Chicago and Atlanta are teams, and Chicago's actually been defending pretty well, but they're teams that are going to try to score 130 points on you. And so if I'm Cleveland and Boston, I look down and I say, okay, which of those 4 teams could give us trouble just defensively? Which team is it going to be a struggle to get to our 115 points a night?
Right.
And, of course, we're that team. I mean, we're the best defensive team in the play-in scenario. So you have that baseline there. Then you have the recent history with Cleveland, as you mentioned. It was a hell of a series last year, a 7-game. Every team protected home court. And as you mentioned, we were up, 18 in the first half of that game.
Right.
And then the other part is this, like recent history with Cleveland. They came into the Kia Center about a month ago and beat us by 40 and absolutely demolished us.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, we go into Cleveland on a nationally televised game on a Sunday afternoon, and we beat them. And it was maybe the best win of the season. So I think we match up pretty well with Cleveland, and I think Cleveland's sort of scuffling right now. I'll tell you what, very quietly, and I mean, RJ, I know you follow the league as closely as anybody. The Boston Celtics right now are rounding into form. They have sort of mastered, it feels like, peaking at the right time. They won 8 straight, and they just look like world beaters right now. And they're actually giving Cleveland a run for their money for that top seed. So we got one more matchup with the Celtics that's coming up not this week, I think the following week. The final week of the season at the Kia Center. That could shape up to be an absolutely massive game. I do think we match up well with both teams because of our size and defensive capabilities, but I also think both those teams will be heavy favorites in a series against us, just because we haven't shown consistently the ability to knock down the perimeter jumpers. And if that happens, if we go into a series against either of those teams and hit 13, 14 threes a night, then we could absolutely play with anybody.
It is going to be an exciting finish to the NBA season and for the Orlando Magic. They will have a game tomorrow against the LA Clippers. We will have that game for you right here on 10:10 a.m. Make sure that you catch that game and listen to the voice of the Orlando Magic on their radio side, Jake Chapman. Make sure to also follow him on Twitter at Jake Chapman OM. Jake, thank you so much again, and we'll definitely do this come playoff time.
You got it, buddy. Thanks.
There he goes, Jake Chapman of the Orlando Magic. Took my Lakers to task about a week ago. Then you have that heartbreaking loss against the Dallas Mavericks. Big win against the Sacramento Kings. This is just about trying to finish the season on a high note. I don't know if there are too many teams that want to say, yeah, let's face the Orlando Magic in the first round. I understand the matter that they do not shoot the 3-ball well. We've talked about that at an alarming rate all year. But you still have Paolo Banchero. You still have Franz Wagner, 2 of the young superstars in today's game. I think Orlando would like to take their chances against whomever they decide to face in the first round of the NBA playoffs. But there are a couple of other teams that are making noise within the Eastern and Western Conference. And you heard Jake Chapman mention the Boston Celtics. Is this Boston's world, and we're all just living in it? Let's talk about it next with Steve Ashburner of NBA.com right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Good teachers and coaches get the most out of their Scholar Athletes. That's why 1010XL salutes the Scholar Athlete of the Week.
Brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
And the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234.
Wednesdays on The Frangie Show.
The 2025 NFL season is right around the corner, and the Jags are building something special. A fresh team, a new culture, and a stadium that's going to change the game. Be there to witness head coach Liam Cohen and the rest of the coaching crew in action and secure your place in line for the stadium of the future with your 2025 season ticket membership. Visit Jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. We can't wait to see you at the bank this fall.
The First Tee Tour Card is back for 2025 and better than ever, with access to over 15 of North Florida's best courses and new this year, local participating businesses. This card is your ticket to saving hundreds. First Tee North Florida is a local nonprofit who build character in youth participants through the game of golf. This annual fundraiser enables this amazing organization the ability to build game changers. Grab your tour card for just $99 at tourcard.org. for a list of participating partners, benefits, and restrictions.
Spring is in the air. Time to wake up your lawn with Heroes Lawn Care. Say goodbye to pesky mosquitoes with their organic and spray treatments. Perfect for outdoor fun. Keep your lawn clean and fresh with their pet waste removal for homes and businesses. Heroes Lawn Care takes care of it all. From mowing, edging, fertilizer, to irrigation, and much more. Visit heroeslawncare.com.
From the preseason to the playoffs and every day in between.
Each man individually preparing himself to be the best he could possibly be. Better than he's ever been. Because that's what it's going to take.
At 1010XL, the season never ends.
Where on your body is the weenus? The answer next.
When you call Southern Oak and file a claim, you'll be handled by our hand-picked vendors who will analyze any roof, storm, or water damage. It'll save money for you.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
The weenus is your elbow skin and can be pinched as hard as you want, and it will never cause pain.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
To the T here, and Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes through in the clutch? From lunch to late night, only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar. Stick around after the sunset, and Twin Peaks is open really late. Wind down with bourbon and late-night bites. Come on, somebody.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging? Spring is here, a time to renew. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist, here to help you look and feel your best with minimal to no downtime. Rejuvenate your skin, strengthen your core, and sculpt your body with advanced face and body treatments designed to restore your youthful glow and confidence. Just in time for spring and summer. A healthier, more fit you starts now. Visit Dermagnify.com and step into spring looking and feeling your best.
North Florida is growing with lots of new families joining our community. If you're one of them making the move here, your next move should be a call to American Electrical to create the best home automation system, enhancing your living experience. There are many ways your life can be made easier through smart home technology, voice-activated systems, automated lighting, total house temperature control. With American Electrical, they've got everything you need to automate your home and make it your true oasis. Check out American-Electrical.com, powered by professionalism and raising the excellence bar.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. When pests invade your home or business, you don't just need them out, you need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, they'll show up for you and eliminate pests quicker, just like they did at my house, because they care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a pest problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. That's right, Terminix it.
E.T. here, and spring in Clay County means one thing, the award-winning Clay County Fair. It's more than just rides and a concert, it's an experience. Savor the flavors of classic fair treats, explore family-friendly attractions, and enjoy a perfect mix of small-town charm and big-time fun. Plan your trip with Explore Clay County Tourism and turn your visit into a getaway. Find the best places to stay, eat, and explore at exploreclay.com. And don't forget to share your fair adventures with #ExploreClay.
Buying a diamond, wedding band, or piece of fashion jewelry in Jacksonville? You have two choices. You can go to locally owned Beard's Diamonds, or you can go to one of those mega national chain jewelry stores. The national chains are pretty much all the same. In fact, did you know that some of them are owned by the same conglomerate? Yes, the same Wall Street company owns all the big names. So if you're looking for extreme value with genuine personal attention, come experience the Beard's Diamond difference. At Beard's, our diamonds come straight from the source. We hand select each one for maximum brilliance. We don't have to apply corporate markups and tack on salespeople commissions, so we beat the chains on price every single day. Beards has the strongest warranties, not gotcha clauses in fine print. Beards has all the top designers, including Tacori and Viraggio. Beards doesn't have out-of-state regional managers calling about sales quotas. We are all local, family-owned, with total freedom to do what's right for our customers. Beards Diamonds, all the selection, quality, value, and service you want from local people, accountable only to you. Beards in the St. John's Town Center.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Our next guest is a legend in the world of round ball and an expert, unlike any other, and also a lifesaver when we have problems on our phone lines and need him to call us and us not call him. He is Steve Ashburner of ENBA.com. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at AshNBA, and he is so gracious to give us a couple moments of his time. Mr. Steve, thank you so much for being a lifesaver to our show. How are you, sir?
Good. Yeah. Well, I've proved to everybody that I can dial a phone. So instead of waiting for it to ring, that's about as much as this took. So
absolutely,
no problem.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for giving us a couple moments. But before we speak on the biggest NBA news, you got to tell me the story behind your photo with Wilt Chamberlain. Do you remember what was going on, where you guys were? Did you ask a question to Wilt? Just the story behind the picture. I got to know.
Oh yeah, the what I use is the avatar on Twitter. It was at the '97 Cleveland All-Star Weekend. That was the top 50, 50th anniversary year, and it was incredible. I mean, it was an assemblage of pretty much every legend in NBA history, because the league was relatively young, 50 years old. You know, you still had a lot of guys that were around and available. George Mikan was there.
Yeah.
Obviously, Bill Russell was there. Wilt Chamberlain was there. That was 2 years before he passed. And on Friday, they had a ballroom with all these guys sort of spread throughout the ballroom, and media people just went from table to table, group to group. And Wilt, in my view, had just about the biggest throng around him. I ended up behind him because that's what print guys strategically do in those situations. We don't need camera shots, and you can lurk over a guy's shoulder with a small tape recorder or something, and that's where I was. So I don't remember at what point the question was, but I know that the photo, a version of the photo ended up on the front page of the Cleveland Plain Dealer the next day.
Wow.
And then that photo that I used ended up in some Legends trading card collection. So
really cool.
It's been around. Nobody knows who I am in the photo, of course, most people, but I figured I'd get some mileage out of it. So Wilt was my favorite player when I was growing up. I caught late Wilt Chamberlain in terms of he was with the Lakers. He had scaled back on scoring to serve his team better with defense and rebounding. But just amazing. I mean, probably that headband that he wore back then caught my eye when I was, early teen. And growing up in Chicago, I'd catch some of those those West Coast games when they played the Bulls out there. And Wilt was a favorite. I got a chance to interview him another time about the 100-point game, and I've sort of become a self-appointed guardian of the Wilt Chamberlain legend with social media these days because, you'll see people in a rush to, this is the first time in history that anybody's ever done this. Oh, the first guy since the merger to do, to me, is code for, well, we're not going to include Wilt because Wilt did it about 10 times more than anybody else. So, it's gerrymandering to sort of keep Wilt out of the conversation, or it might minimize whatever the particular achievement is. So I tend to be a pain in the butt and quick to correct people in their tweets like that. Although when Nikola Jokic went for 30, 20, and 20 recently, not even Wilt had done that.
Right.
So, I mean, when you're doing things that Chamberlain didn't do, to me, that's about as bona fide as it gets.
One of the most, if not the most dominant presence we have had in our league, Wilt Chamberlain. A great story from Steve Ashburner. He's the senior writer at NBA.com. All right, let's get into today's NBA. The Houston Rockets, they far exceeded my expectations. I thought this was going to be a team that would make the playoffs, but they would do it via the play-in game. But they're the second team right now in the Western Conference. What have been your thoughts on that team down there in Houston this season?
Yeah, to me, I'm very impressed with the job that Ime Udoka has done in coaching that team. I mean, when he came in there a couple of years back, I mean, he not only brought a defensive orientation, which is sort of essential to the way he coaches, he imposed order on a team that, in my view, was about as reckless and undisciplined as I'd seen for a while. It was almost like an AAU team got promoted up into the NBA, and these guys were not playing together. They were sort of my turn, your turn with the ball.
Right.
Just seemed very, very undisciplined, and he's imposed order on that, and he's been able to sustain it to, carve out a, relatively solid here with, 2 weeks left in the season, number 2 seed. And, I'm probably going to have him on my Coach of the Year ballot. It's a 3-spot ballot. So, that tells you how high I think of what Udoka has done.
Absolutely. Another team that has completely turned it around, Steve, is that of the Detroit Pistons. I mean, they're a really fun group to watch. I mean, they're certainly a team, if you have NBA League Pass, you're turning that on, watching this Detroit Pistons team. But in your opinion, what catapulted this turnaround for the Pistons?
Well, they've been in position to acquire young talent through the draft. And so at some point you hope to see a payoff on that. But what they're doing, to me, transcends that. I mean, Jaden Ivey, who was a high pick a few years back, he's been hurt. So he hasn't even been around to sort of blossom as this team has. It comes down primarily, to me, to Cade Cunningham.
Right.
Cade Cunningham was the one pick in the draft years ago, and he's playing now with the assurance and the confidence and the mastery of that roster and what they can do and what he can do. I mean, he attacks the rim like few others. Maybe Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is in that same class. And I just think that his confidence, he's brimming with that. And I would expect that he will get all-NBA consideration from a lot of us voters. And, most improved candidate, I don't know. I mean, he might be a favorite, but certainly he'll be on a lot of our ballots. And J.B. Bickerstaff, I mean, he's worth a mention too. I mean, the guy who got fired last spring when Cleveland when they got eliminated, and you wondered whether J.B. was going to get another shot. Well, he got another shot right away, and he has done with the Pistons what he wasn't quite able to do with the Cavaliers. Coincidentally, Kenny Atkinson did that with the Cavaliers. He's taken them to the next level.
Right.
And he'll be a Coach of the Year favorite for a lot of people. But J.B. Bickerstaff, I saw this the other day. There's only been one other team in NBA history, I think, that has tripled its victory total from one year to the next. Charlotte did it when they went from winning 7 games one year, and I think that was a lockout type year, but they went from 7 to 21. Well, these guys went from 14 to 42. They'll finish with more than that. So that's an incredible leap. A lot of times coaches of the year they come not from the coach on the best team, but from the guy who seems to have done the most with the least.
Yeah.
And I think Detroit, they don't have the least, but I think Bickerstaff has certainly done the most to be able to, to me, fight off the sense of satisfaction that a team might get when, all right, well, what was it, maybe January when they won more games than they had won all of last season? Well, now you got to make sure players don't think, well, that was good enough. We've had a good year. We've already surpassed last year. And I mean, they are now, what are they, 5th place in the East? They've passed Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Indiana, I don't think anybody is really eager to play the Detroit Pistons in the first round.
Right. He is the senior writer at NBA.com. He is Steve Ashburner. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at AshNBA. This is going to make me throw up asking you this question being a Lakers fan, but the Boston Celtics are winners of 8 straight, and it really seems like they're revving it up into high gear. Is this Boston's championship to lose like it was last season?
I don't know that it's as clear cut as that, simply because Cleveland is legit. I mean, they've stumbled a little bit here down the stretch, but they had 2 16-game winning streaks over the course of this season. I mean, they've been able to get great production and team play from pretty much every spot in their rotation, and I think that they are poised. I mean, that would be the dream Eastern Conference Finals would be the Cavaliers against the Celtics. Now, what the Celtics have going for them, of course, they're defending champs. They know what this is all about.
Right.
The expectations in Boston are as high as anybody in the NBA ever faces, and they've done kind of a tag team approach to this season where one or two of their frontline guys is sidelined almost every night. And you can say, okay, well, then they've lost some games and they shouldn't have it. But what about when all hands are on deck? When Porzingis is there and, Tatum and Derek White and Drew Holiday and anybody else who is, sort of load managed or gotten a little time or had a little nick or knack injury, when they're all available, that's pretty formidable. I think they have the best roster in the game. And, they've had guys step up. Peyton Pritchard he's been good for several years, but he probably will end up winning the 6th Man of the Year award. Joe Mazzulla is sort of below the radar for a lot of people, but, you look at the roster and you say, well, how good a coach do you have to be? Well, you got to be a pretty good coach to coach talent and to sustain success. So I'm not sure how many Coach of the Year votes he'll get. He'll probably be shorted in that category, but he's no nonsense, and he's the perfect guy you want to keep a champion hungry for yet another ring.
Now, before I let you go, you said you raised KG from that of a timber pup. I got to know what's the biggest thing you taught Kevin Garnett during his time with the T-Wolves.
Well, one thing I get credit for from the late, great Sekou Smith, who later became a teammate of mine at NBA.com. Yeah. But when Sekou was covering Indiana, there was a game in Minnesota where KG had this bad habit, and it got worse through his career, of taking forever after a game to come out and do his media obligations. And we tried to impress him. Just come on, talk to us for 5 minutes. You're done. Go back and do your whirlpool and massage and whatever else you got to do after that for another hour. But it never quite flipped around. And there was one time where I was fighting a deadline. I just was in no mood. And KG came out, and I just sort of lit into him and let him know that, you know what, we're here for a purpose too. We're not here because we want to. Doing our jobs, we have deadlines. We have to get things done, just like you need to get things done with a minute left in a game. We got to get things done, and it's unprofessional for you to not consider that. And aired him out pretty good. Impressed a bunch of my peers who were in that little scrum that night. And KG modified his behavior for about a week, and then he went back to doing what he always did.
Thank you so much, Steve. We'll definitely have to have you back on come playoff time. It's been really great hearing from you and your expertise around the league. We'll do this again next time.
Sounds good. Good luck with the phones.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Steve Ashburner of NBA.com. That is going to do it for us here on Open Gym. We will talk to you next week. It'll be playoff time, I believe, by next week. So for Dylan Denmark, I'm RJ Saunders. Coming up next, River City Hardball with Andrew Gibson. You guys enjoy your Sunday.